Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting for April 12th. There will be a presentation explaining how the meeting and everything works for those that want to do call-in. When it gets to the time for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to have Mr. Brian Yanis lead us, and we'll start with the roll call, posting of the agenda, and the flag salute, please.
Member Zaragoza,
Here.
Member Lopez,
Here.
Chair Perrello.
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board on April 5th, 2022. Thank you.
Mr. Yanis, can you lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hand over heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With everything that's going on with violence and stuff, we don't need to take a moment of silence, but everybody has something in their own mind, which, I mean, they can think about what's going on between New York, Sacramento, the rest of the world. Keep some people in your mind, in your thoughts. Okay. Do we have any public comments on items not on the agenda, Madam Clerk?
We do not have any public speakers. Thank you, Chair Perrello.
Okay, we'll wait the 3 minutes. And we'll play the video, please. Thank you very much. With about a minute and a half left, there's some questions with respect to why this is done, and it's because there's an issue ongoing with Measure M. Can I take a moment to ask our city attorney, just give a little update on what Measure M and what's going on with it, please?
Well, the city is still engaged in litigation on the Measure M issues. Trial court gave us a ruling in the city's favor a few months ago, but notice of appeal has been filed, and that's where we're pending right now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. I appreciate that. And I hope the public is listening because this is not settled yet. I see we still got a minute and a half. We received notice that some of our public safety people are out, and everyone here wishes them speedy recovery and great success. Thank you. And have we had any calls, Madam Clerk?
No speakers. Thank you, Chair Perrello.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have the approval of the minutes. The recommendation, the Public Works and Transportation Committee approve the minutes for the March 22nd, 2022 regular meeting as presented. Are there any requests for clarifications, corrections, or to post this to a different date by the committee?
None.
Do we have a recommendation?
Do we have to do it? Not for this one.
You're right. Thank
We
you.
don't-
I'm very grateful the city attorney's office is represented here very ably by Mr. Early. Thank you.
You never know if the public has some comment to make on the minutes.
Yep.
Maybe they see a correction we missed.
Anything's possible. Thank you. There has been a request from the public that some members of these committees start taking singing lessons, and I haven't signed up yet. I don't know if any of the others have, but
Or at least some music from the city manager.
yeah. The only art critique that I could give is I had an opportunity this weekend to attend a play in Pasadena. I know it's a long way away. It's not bringing benefit to the city of Oxnard, but it was called Anne. And it's about a former governor of Texas called Ann Richards. I highly recommend the play. It's really, really good.
Hmm.
Story of her life and how she handled things. Very tough lady.
Hmm.
Time just drags when we're having a good time.
Mhm.
The consent agenda. City Clerk's Department, approval of the minutes. The recommendation, the Public Works and Transportation Committee approved the minutes for March 22, 2022, regular meeting as presented. We have a minute, we have a motion and I believe a second. No, okay,
Second.
okay.
I'll make the motion
Okay.
to approve the minutes.
And we have a motion by Lopez and a second by Zaragoza. Do we need to wait any longer, Mr. Early?
With 3 minutes.
We already waited the 3 minutes, correct?
Mhm.
Mr. Okay, okay, please vote.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you.
Madam. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. The first item on the agenda is under reports, number 1, Public Works Department. Agreement A-8444 with Pirate California Holdings LLC, DBA Pirate Staffing for temporary and supplemental labor services at the Del Norte Regional Recycling and Transfer Station. The recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute agreement A-8444 with Pirate California Holding LLC, DBA Pirate Staffing in an amount not to exceed $800,000 for a 3-year term for temporary and supplemental labor services at the Del Norte Regional Recycling Transfer Station. There was a presentation. It's due to Measure M. It is not going to be presented tonight. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers on this item?
We do not have any public speakers.
And you'll start the clock. Thank you very much. Committee members, do you have any comments or questions on this?
I just.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I just want to ask Todd, you know, that, Todd, this is a 3-year, $800,000 pirate personnel agenda item, correct? And also, I think my understanding is that they have done this in the past. They're not new to us, right?
Yes,
Have we
Mayor.
used them in the past?
We have used supplemental labor for positions that are in recruitment only. It's not to supplement our full-time positions. It's only for certain positions that are hard to recruit that are often vacant.
And I understanding that you've had some problems with concerns also with COVID, absenteeism, and some other individuals that's been very difficult as far as retaining, you know, those individuals well, in other words.
All of the above. The COVID is a more recent and short-term issue, but we have had a long-term issue of certain positions that are high turnover. Yes.
And of course, you know, like, what do you have of 270,000, what is it, tons a year that you collect and dispose of?
Mayor, that would be what comes through the city. What we're taking all the way through Del Norte regionally is about 325,000.
Oh, 325 is a tremendous amount of refuse. So I think it's important that we do have that staff, temporary staff to help us with the labor shortage.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
One question, Mr. Osley. Due to the new process of separating the household food waste from the green waste, have we had to hire more people to handle that area?
No, and if we did, we would not do that through this.
Contract.
That's protected labor through our MOUs and negotiations. That would be a separate process. Again, this agreement is only for 3 job classifications that are often vacant, and it's only during recruiting.
Thank you very much. That's the only questions I have. And we still have a little time.
Can I ask one other question
Go
too?
ahead.
How is the new system working with the garbage going into the green waste?
So far, so good. We noticed weekly a little bit more increase on people who are doing it. Our food waste tonnage has gone from about initially 7 tons per week, the first week, to about 9 tons per week. So
Oh,
it's slowly gaining ground.
so that's helping the wastewater gen's operation then.
It should, and I'm hoping it's helping their food bill. I want people to work on both sides of this. I plan better so you're not throwing it away in the first place.
Yeah.
So I would like to take credit that it's through the city's efforts, but I think people are going to use this law and just be more mindful of their meal planning and waste less food. At least that's what I hope what happens.
That's good. I'm glad it's working, Mr. Chair. Need a motion? Need a motion? No more speakers?
Madam Clerk?
We do not have any speakers.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this item, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Roll call, beg your pardon. Can we go any further question or discussion? None? We'll go ahead and vote.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda, Public Works Department again. Subject, agreement for a total value of $10,700,000 for supply and delivery of chemicals to wastewater, water, and recycled water facilities. Recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute the following agreements for the supply and delivery of chemicals to water, wastewater, and recycled water facilities through June 30th, 2024 as follows. This is a multi-part, this is a 10-part item, so bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. Number 1, agreement A-8445 with HASA Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $1 million for the supply and delivery of sodium hyperchlorate to the Oxnard wastewater treatment plant. Number 2, agreement A-8446 with JCI Jones Chemical Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $100,000 for the supply and delivery of sodium bisulfate to the Oxnard Wastewater Treatment Plant. Number 3, Agreement A-8447 with Penco Incorporated, the amount not to exceed $2.5 million for the supply and delivery of ferric chloride to the Oxnard Wastewater Treatment Plant and ferrous chloride to the Oxnard Lift Station number 6. Number 4, Agreement A-8448 with Univar Solutions USA Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $150,000 for the supply and delivery of sodium hydroxide to the Oxnard Wastewater Treatment Plant Headworks facility. Number 5, Agreement A-8449 with HASA Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $600,000 for the supply and delivery of sodium hyperchlorite in the Oxnard Water Campus Blending Station number 3 and Advanced Water Purification Facility. Number 6, Agreement A-8450 with Hill Brothers Chemical Company in the amount not to exceed $300,000 for the supply and delivery of aqueous ammonia in the Oxnard Water Campus and Blending Station number 3. Number 7, Agreement A-8451 with King Lee Chemical Company, DBA King Lee Technologies in the amount not to exceed $550,000 for the supply and delivery of anti-scalant pre-treat plus 0100 to the Oxnard Water Campus and Advanced Water Purification Facility. Number 8, Agreement A-8452 with Miles Chemical Company Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $1.25 million for the supply and delivery of hydrogen peroxide and liquid lime to the Advanced Water Purification Facility. Number 9, Agreement A-8453 with Pacific Star Chemical, DBA North Star Chemical in the amount not to exceed $1.5 million for the supply and delivery of sodium hydroxide and citric acid to the Oxnard Water Campus and Advanced Water Purification Facility. Number 10, and the last one, Agreement A-8454 with Unilever Solutions USA Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $2.75 million for the supply and delivery of sodium bisulfate and sulfuric acid to the Advanced Water Purification Facility. There was a presentation, but due to the Measure M, as the city attorney has graciously addressed ongoing litigation, it will not be presented tonight. I hope that the public is watching and by chance has some calls, but one request I would have of staff. I did have chemistry classes in school, but I don't know that I pronounce these things correctly. And I'm looking at, I envision my science teacher docking me when I would misstate it. When we have these 1 through 10, if we could just have somebody come up and not go through the whole Measure M presentation and just say what's what and what's it for. The one that I know that's scary and from having dealt with it, sulfuric acid, but these other ones, they're not to be messed with. And anytime a government entity is going to put $10.7 million into something, I'm sure that there's not just council members asking question, what's what and what are we doing with it? And can we store it? Because we've had an incident yesterday where there was something that was stored and there was how we safely take care of it. Other agencies, not our agency, but how do agencies take care of it and protect the public?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll have our experts answer those questions, and I apologize for the chemistry test tonight. So we'll cover what some of those do. Obviously, this is for whether at the wastewater treatment plant or through our water production or AWPF. There's a lot of chemistry that's going on in those sites. So they'll talk about the chemicals specifically for each one of the different divisions that they oversee in the storage. So
I personally really appreciate that, gentlemen. I really do. I'll be honest here. I remember bombing my chemistry tests when they would give the words and I'm supposed to write the formula, or they give the formula, I'm supposed to write the word, and I knew I was going down in flames.
Good evening, committee
And
members.
One
Yeah,
second. Do we have, Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers?
We do not have any public speakers, and I already ran the 3-minute timer.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Go ahead, Mr. Housley.
Good evening again, committee members. My name is Jan Hauser. I'm the wastewater division manager. I will talk hopefully very briefly about the chemicals we use at the wastewater plant. Turn it over to Mr. Castro to talk about water and recycled water. And I think you set a record for the longest introduction there tonight. You did a fine job, so great. That wasn't easy. So we use 5 chemicals in the wastewater treatment process. The first one is sodium hypochlorite. That's essentially chlorine, liquid chlorine. We use that for disinfection. The next one is sodium bisulfite. That is to dechlorinate. So we can't put the water out in the ocean with chlorine in it. And so we have to dechlorinate before we put it out in the ocean. The next one is ferrous and ferric chloride. Those are used for 2 purposes. One, ferrous chloride at lift station 6 for odor control, and then at the plant for improved settling. So it enhances settling of the wastewater.
And I want to just comment to my fellow committee members, the city has done a tremendous job in addressing the odors that had taken place in the past and staying on top of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing that up and mentioning that. And let's see, the next is sodium hydroxide. That's used in odor control, actually. We have a chemical odor scrubber at our headworks, and that's used in that process. And then I believe that's it for wastewater. Any questions on wastewater chemicals? Pardon? Oh, storage. So we have currently we have a 7,000 gallon tank for ferrous chloride at lift station 6. We had 2 23,000 gallon tanks for sodium hypochlorite at the plant. We are in the process of replacing those with smaller tanks with 12,500 gallon tanks. The sodium bisulfite is, I believe, 12,000 gallon tanks. And what was the last one was the sodium hydroxide. And those are smaller tanks, about 1,500 gallons.
And
So I think that's.
we have approved security for these various sites and stuff because we needed to make sure that the stuff is handled correctly.
Oh, correct. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Okay.
Committee members, do you have any questions of?
Well, I'd like after Omar speaks.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members. So the Water Division utilizes sodium hydroxide solution. That is for a pH balance. Once we utilize reverse osmosis, we need to make sure that the chemistry in the water isn't too aggressive. So we adjust that pH back. Sodium hypochlorite is used as a disinfectant, and so is aqueous ammonia. We mix them together to produce a disinfectant that meets the state water standards. We use anti-scalant for the membranes. As we know, we have salts and a lot of calcium in our water so that it doesn't cake up on the membranes and shorten the life of the membranes. We use the anti-scalant to kind of break that down and be able to remove that. At the Advanced Water Purification Facility, we use sulfuric acid. We use that also for a pH control to make sure that we don't have too aggressive of water. And sodium or hydrogen peroxide is used as an oxidant to help remove some of the heavier particles. We use, let's see, anti-scalant also because we do have reverse osmosis membranes at the AWPF. And for the same reason, we don't want to have that all caked up on that membrane. It shortens the life and decreases the efficiency of the membranes. And we use liquid lime on the finished water to make sure that that pH is brought up after all the processes is completed. The storage tanks, whether it's at the Advanced Water Purification Facility or at the water facility, it's based on the holding time and the degradation of that chemical. So our tanks range anywhere from 5,000 to 2,000 gallons. We have replaced our tanks. Our tanks also have sensors on there. Should there be a breach, should there be leaks, we would get notifications. So they have sniffers that actually can detect the chemical if it were to leave the vessel itself.
Thank you very much.
I Mr. Chair, I believe, that these chemicals are needed. It's to me, it's a health and safety issue. It's something that's mandated, by the government, and also to make sure that whatever we is probably dumped, for lack of a better word, into the ocean has to be clean and so forth. And I just want to thank Jen Hauser and Almar Castro. I had the opportunity to, and I mentioned this at my committee earlier, that I was really impressed by Jen and also Almar with the way all the technical stuff that you have there at the wastewater plant, the APWF, how we were trying to bring that up, and how clean and how great of work you guys do there. So I think that potentially, Mr. Chair, that once we have maybe the COVID down to a certain number, that we can have the public go out there and see what you guys do, because it's really important for the people or our residents to understand what happens, the intricacy of taking care of the wastewater and how we're going to purify water and how we're going to use this water for ASR wells too, that was talked about earlier. So I just commend both of you for the excellent work. And I would just mention that to our public works director and also to our city manager, how impressed I was. And I know that Councilman Charon and with me, and also Martha Guillen, my assistant, and we're really impressed with the work that you do there, and I commend you. So, Mr. Chair, I believe that hopefully maybe the public can go out there and really take a tour to see how important those facilities are to the community. And earlier, of course, we were potentially looking at several $1 million that's going to help us with all the work that you guys do. And the more the people understand, the better we are, because eventually, and I even hate to say that because policymakers don't like to share this word, but eventually we'll have to get some rate increases in order to continue doing the good work that you're doing. But I commend you for that.
Chair, yes, if I can follow with that, I do agree with our mayor in terms of getting a better understanding of how our systems within the city function and how they're meeting the needs and serving residents and businesses and anyone who comes in contact within the city. So I do appreciate the explanation, a better understanding than reading off the names of these chemicals. And so just in terms of this item as it's presented, there's 10 different agreements with different companies. So if I could just ask for clarification, why are there 10 different agreements for 10 different chemicals, and how we come to this point?
So and Jan can speak to this as well. Some of it is logistics. The amount of volume that will be delivered at one location versus the other changes the bid process. The other is the type of chemical that is stored at one location isn't the same. So you end up with multiple people bidding on different chemicals because they're going to be delivering in different quantities, or they'll be delivering to different locations.
Thank you. So this isn't like you buy at the store in bulk and just kind of store it, right? So there's a process and method to the system.
Yeah, there's a process, there's a method, there's the importance of being able to deliver the volumes that we want. If we start getting into smaller volumes, those prices really go through the roof. So we want to make sure we maximize those deliveries whenever we can.
Thank you.
Thank you for the explanation. It just sounds like common sense and best management practices. I appreciate that. A couple of questions. I think I heard it said that chemicals that we purchase may have like a life expectancy. Do any of these have a life expectancy so that we want to use them up before they get stale? Like looking at pull dates on a can and you find it 5 years old in my soup kitchen.
I know Jan's dying to get up here, but yeah.
Okay.
Also, I'll speak to the water AWPF chemicals. They do have a degradation period. Some hold for 30 days, and that's why you size your tank based off of your demands. You don't want anything that's going to spoil and then you're not be able to use it, or you have to use more of it because it became a weaker product.
Thank you for that explanation. One final question with respect to aqueous ammonia, where that is. How often do we check those tanks for burp valves or whatever they are called so that we don't have an accidental emission? Is there a standard practice and do we follow it? And I know that you guys take this seriously, but the health, safety and welfare when dealing with these chemicals, the one that as I mentioned, the acid, I had experience with that in the science lab. But the ammonia, I know that sometimes you'll hear about ammonia leaks in communities, and that's why I asked this question.
Sure. The tanks at Water and at AWPF, these are checked daily. If,
Okay.
twice a day, 3 times a day, staff will go out there. And as I mentioned, we also have alarms that should it get any level of a gas, it sends an alarm. And those alarms are set at a very low level so that we have time to respond as well.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, when we went over to the AWTF, you explained that to us, one of the questions we had was, what happens if you have a leak? And you said the alarms are really important, not only there at the plant, but also the people that are on standby and you have, I think, the folks that have the phones also pick up those notices too, which is really, really important for the safety of the community, which is really important, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions?
Just one thing too, and I mentioned it earlier to Mr. Wolf, please thank your staff, the people that work for you, because that's what makes you guys look good.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important that we commend your staff. And I know when I was there, your staff, Omar and Jan, good people and very professional. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I personally am grateful that we have the operations enterprise funds and the people operating those enterprise funds that we do. I'm really grateful. As I mentioned, health, safety, and welfare is a big deal, a real big deal. And if something goes wrong, it goes wrong on a big scale and makes headlines. We haven't had issues like that, and I'm grateful for it. And the amount of this item, 10 million plus, people will go, holy mackerel. Well, it's an investment. We made an investment in our enterprise funds, and you got to take care of them. If you have a car and you don't take care of it, eventually you don't have a car that works anymore. People count on the water working every day, the sewer working every day, the trash working every day. People count on the health, safety, and welfare being consistently good. Thank you very much. And unless there's any further questions, I'd like to move this action. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any comments? Any more further? None?
No public
Okay.
speakers.
Would the city manager like to say anything before we take a vote?
Sure. When this comes to council, so Jan and Omar will come here in lab coats and we're going to quiz you on these chemicals since you raised it tonight. I hope you were paying attention. Good luck.
I'll need the video. I
Thank you.
make no joke, man. My science teacher used to hold his head, man. Okay. Go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, vote, please.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item E, do we have any items for future agendas, Mayor?
I don't.
And I don't either. This is a relatively quick meeting, very important, and I want to thank everybody for answering it. And if any members of the public are watching, there's a lot of jobs in the city of Oxnard, and you have kids, and the kids are looking for jobs. These are very technical jobs. A lot of people's health, safety, and welfare is in these gentlemen's hands. Your kids can do this kind of work. And it's not just, and this is no disrespect to public safety. It is not just public safety that puts their necks on the line. The people that work in these areas, they put their necks on the line. And we're very lucky to have these people working here. And I'm very lucky to have the city attorney watch my back when I screw up here. So I want to thank you.
3 minutes.
Yeah. With that, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.